You're listening to the Journey Podcast. What does it mean to make a commitment to yourself? Join us today as we dive into the growing trend of self-marriage and the journey of self-love. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. The Marrying Yourself Journey is a personal development program that encourages individuals to cultivate self-love, self-acceptance, and self-commitment. It is based on the idea that we must first love and accept ourselves before we can fully love and accept others. Through a series of exercises and practices, participants embark on a journey of self-discovery and self-realization, ultimately committing to themselves in a deep and meaningful way. In this episode, we explore the Marrying Yourself journey and its potential for personal growth and transformation. Our guest shares her profound insight and experiences with the program, providing tips and strategies for cultivating self-love and self-acceptance. We discuss the importance of self-care, self-awareness, and self-compassion in the journey towards self-commitment, as well as the challenges and opportunities of this process. Deva has been a psychotherapist for over 30 years in private practice in Atlanta, Georgia. She's the author of Rearranged Never the Same, The Nature of Grief, and Toolbox of Hope for When Your Body Doesn't Feel Good, and the Marrying Yourself Journey online experience. Deva facilitates many workshops, including leading people through a year-long program to marry themselves and the We Are One Gaia year-long experience. Let's meet Deva Joy. Hi, Deva Joy. It's so great to have you on the podcast. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because we will be talking about the Marrying Yourself journey. What a fantastic topic, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to have you on today. And for starters, would you like to share a little bit about yourself and your own journey and your own story?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm a psychotherapist for over 30 years in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been leading people through this marrying yourself journey for years. And it's based on my own experience when I was going through a divorce in my young 30s. And it was obviously a painful time. And I was contemplating as I was grieving, what is a marriage where there's no divorce? And the first, it's like, of course, only to myself. Like, and what would that be like? So as I was letting go of my marriage to this person that I was married to, I was like starting to contemplate, like making that kind of commitment to myself, a romanticist. And I started to woo myself and I started to get to know my inner male aspect and my feminine aspect, which definitely showed up differently, and went into this dance of really deepening in my self-knowledge and antidoting my codependent patterns that had been definitely shown to me in my marriage and retrieving myself. And in that process, I got engaged to myself. And once I did that, it was like the premarital counseling really started. And I dove really deep. And about a year later, I found myself in India marrying myself and going through a ritual. I came home from that and I was radiating, and people were like, oh my gosh, what happened besides India? So I shared about marrying myself and others. I want to do that. So I created, and at the time I always give a lot of workshops every month. I give like 2 workshops a month for all these years. So I gave a weekend workshop, and they got engaged in the beginning and married at the end, and they loved it. It was about 20 people. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not it. I went through this year of burning and stretching and uncomfortableness and finding different pieces of myself. And I was like, I will never do that again because it's not true to really marrying yourself is about. So I started this year-long program, and it's actually gone longer with other people through COVID. It went 2.5 years with the people I was leading them through, and then a year and a half with another group, and then a year with another group. So through the years, we've gone through these processes. And right now, I'm going through it with a group of men. And my husband has said, "You are never going to get men interested in this." And I'm like, "Yeah." And beautiful group of men going through it. And actually, they get married in April. We've been meeting for over a year. So each month is a focus. And then people in other places were asking me, like, I want to experience this. So I did bring it to an online format. And I tried to write it in a book, and it was like that also, like weekend workshop was not it because it wasn't engaging. The whole process is very enlivening, engaging, interactive. So I found this way after I took this writing course with this wonderful coach. And I was like, that's a great format. So I can include podcasts and TED Talks and music and audios and videos and different ways so that we can engage. And the online course also offers a Zoom option to meet every week. So people from different places all come on to a way so that we can gather. Then I also add some in-person stuff if people could get here. So it's been an amazing experience. There's nothing more intimate and such a privilege to be present to someone else marrying themselves. Little did I know in my young 30s that this would be the pain that I was going through, and then the finding of myself in it and utilizing all of the therapy tools that I know and integrating that into the process would be such an offering to others. It's a beautiful thing.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that journey with us. It sounds like quite the journey and everything that came from that as well, and so much growth and transformation happening through that as well. I find it very interesting that you discovered that the weekend workshop just wasn't aligned with what you wanted to put out there. So, yeah, I'm very glad you decided to extend that into a year-long program. That sounds like there's so much wonderful space for participants then to go through the entire experience and the entire journey that they want to take.
Yeah, thanks for getting that. It actually was quite humbling when it was like, oh my gosh, this is not it. And it does take time of really sitting with ourselves and finding our shadow aspects and where we're uncomfortable and where our strengths are and how we want to develop. And so, as a therapist, I obviously guide people through a lot of different inner territory, right? So, I know how important it is to be guided and not to just allow, like, try this on and, go have at it. There is a step by step process that I have found to be most effective so that people really can come into that deep sense of substance. And like, I know my inner self, I've toiled the earth here, and I am actually really ready to make these vows. I've heard of a lot of different people these days getting married to themselves, which is like awesome. But I haven't heard of people actually doing this inner work. There's a reason why when people get engaged to each other, that they go into counseling. I see a lot of couples before weddings and lead a lot of couples workshops, actually. It's the same with ourselves. We have so many different parts of ourselves, and we have so many different voices and protectors and sabotagers, and sometimes our protectors are sabotagers. And we have to crawl all into that if we're actually going to live into these vows that we make to ourselves.
Yeah. It sounds very empowering for people to actually take that journey. Also, like a lot of work, because as you said, there's a lot of things that people need to discover and work on. But it sounds like a very, very worthwhile journey to take in the end.
Thank you, Pedro. Yeah.
The people that go through this journey, what have you observed in this time that you have put it on even in person and now your online version? How do they change? What kind of benefits do people experience when they take this marrying yourself journey?
Yeah, I love that question because it's been amazing. Truly it brings me to tears to get that. Yeah, this isn't a course. This isn't a program. When you marry yourself, it is like this deep, sacred, life changing, earth plate shifting experience. Because once you actually make those commitments to yourself in that kind of vertical, honest way, that's through ritual, no one and nothing can diminish it. So a lot of us have codependent patterns, and a lot of us have been raised to take care of others, think of others first, and which is all actually, it's not an all bad thing. I mean, of course, there's like beauty in that. But when we get our sense of meaning and identity from focusing on others and by being in relationship or by rescuing other people or by like how much do people value us and that's who I am, then we are always in that rat race and we're not anchored inside. And often we even lose a sense of who am I? What do I want? What do I need? Where are my boundaries? So this process brings us into that. If you're going to marry yourself, you really have to grow to know yourself and not just the parts that you want others to see that you present with, but to really know yourself. And also knowing ourselves includes the unity, because the deepest place inside of us is the deepest place inside of you. So there's so many layers to that. And then to really look at our codependent behaviors and ways that we've given ourselves away. And there's a whole self-retrieval process and rituals on how to do that and how to bring ourselves forward from places in the past that we've been injured or that we have left, abandoned ourselves or betrayed ourselves. And how to get married, we actually have to do work with our past and do. So that's a benefit to come into the present by doing that inner healing work. And then there is that engagement process. And also people grow to know their feminine, masculine aspects. And there's, so much to say about that. The people in our lives often mirror those aspects of what's inside, and to learn how to tweak that, like what needs strengthening, what needs actually to be turned down, how do our different aspects balance each other and support each other, and what's the best way to do that, and to become our own source of worthiness, and that I am special, I am beautiful, I know how to bring that to myself, I know how to shine, I know how to resource myself from inside, all of that. And along with that, and this is a huge part of my therapy work with people, is learning how to parent yourself. And it's never too late to have a happy childhood and all these different phrases that I've heard. And it's not that I believe, I mean, I think if we have an unhappy childhood, we're not just going to have a happy one by thinking it, but there are ways to change our inner blueprint, to learn how to really take care of our younger parts of ourselves. And people can't be expected to just know how to do that. That comes really through a learning process, and that's often therapy is about. And it's also, there's a huge module in the Marrying Yourself journey about helping you learn how to give yourself a sense of belonging and support and nurturance and respect, and learn boundaries and set limits and use time well, and really actually working through that Maslow chart of the different layers into actualization. So parenting. And, really we grow to love more through the Marrying Yourself journey, because once we're anchored and rooted in ourselves, then we're less afraid to actually love, to really love, not to love to get something back, but just to be the source of love from inside and shine it out more fearlessly. What I see in people is that they know they made these vows. So the people who went through it 6 years ago, 8 years ago, they still refer to it to me. They still say, I have reread my vows. I know that I make different choices now continuously in all my relationships, because I am my primary beloved relationship. And I never forget that, because that is the thing. Once you go through a process like this, you can't forget it, because it'd be so off the mark. It would be intolerable. So people truly tell me that they know they are different in their own skins forever. And that's like amazing, because like with workshops, it's often like you go on a high after a great workshop and it's like, yes. And then 3 weeks later, it's like, back to the old. But this is not that. This is a deep, deep anchoring inside.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds just so fascinating what you have created. And do you want to share, maybe just in sort of a brief outline, what people would expect going through this course? Are there some specific modules? You said they have to follow certain steps and orders, or a specific journey they need to take when they do this program?
Yeah, so the online course obviously is different than when you're in person, because when you're in person, you are meeting with me. We're going to have this gathering and then you're focused on that for the month. It's similar that you're focused on the theme for a certain amount of time. It's self-regulated, the online engaging interactive process. It's so you go at your own pace. So some people, for example, in the antidote for codependency module, they have stayed in it for like a month or two. They stayed it for so long. And then I'm like, but really, truly, the other modules will help you work through it. So the process is signing up, which is like that commitment of like, I'm making that commitment to myself. I have interest in knowing what that is for myself, to marry myself. And then really learning how to, once again, know yourself, how to tame your mind, how to make your mind your ally, because we're all like, our minds get conditioned into negative critical thinking, and how to turn that around. It's very hard to marry yourself if you have a vicious voice going on over and over. How to give permission to your feelings, how to let them move through your body, and what to do with certain feelings, and how to love your body. And we get very conditional around our bodies. Does it look good? Does it actually no? To grow to know that this is your temple, this is your vehicle, and to really bring love to it no matter what it's looking like or even feeling like. I've had arthritis since I was a kid. I was completely crippled then. I couldn't brush my hair. So, like, I grew to know the body in a different way, like that it's precious if you can move your finger. It's precious if you could turn your head. It's amazing if you could stand up, like, so to be in that reveling of the body, and how to nourish the soul, how to learn to go deeper than your personality, to be able to witness, to be able to connect on a beyond your own egoic self, how to work with your feminine, masculine energies. And I mentioned that as a module, how to romance yourself, parent yourself, how to set healthy boundaries and have the power of discernment and the power to say no, and how to learn how to actually do that, and how to have a relationship with divine energy, for lack of a better word. Everyone has their own word, whether it's God or spirit or soul or essence or the bigger picture or the universe, and how to be in relationship with the mystery. And then how to really even write in vows and intentions, which are different. We can have intentions and vows. Both are important and part of the process. So there's a whole module on that. And there's a module on how to live as a married person after the wedding. So there's a module through the wedding process. And then there is a follow up to that of, once we're actually married to ourselves, we can know our oneness. We can know how we're all connected and how to open to that. It goes everywhere.
Yeah, it sounds so comprehensive. I love it. And yet very individual in the fact that people can take this journey at their pace and really dive into the materials. Yeah. And it does sound like you have mentioned, like a true transformation happens during this process. And then also when you do the vows and you go through ritual there. And do you find that people, they become different in emotional and mental sense as well? That if they've come to this program maybe with a lot of stress or anxiety, or they're unhappy or maybe even sad, do you find that there's any changes once they go through the program?
Yeah, I think that we grow more spacious with ourselves, that and less identified with the negative concept of ourselves, to it calls for, like, you can't marry yourself and like be hating yourself at the same time, right? So there is an alchemy in it. Obviously, we all move through hard feelings continuously. Certainly if we're awake on this planet, we feel the suffering, and there's impermanence in all of our lives. There's all sorts of comings and goings. So it's a way of anchoring even deeper than, oh, my life looks happy. Sometimes our lives look happy, and that's awesome. And sometimes they look really sad. But the commitment to the self is deeper. It's not about just creating the happy life. It's about, yes, living in true to ourselves, in alignment with ourselves, to live out our dreams, to learn how to be present, to live by our principles and clarify what they are, and to be very aware of our interactions. So I think it all gets impacted. And I probably, a few hundred people I've been with personally who have gone through it already. And I am very moved to see how they are no longer playing out the codependent patterns.
Mm.
Or if they do, they catch themselves very quickly. Or they really do know how to love deeper and be committed also with other people, and the relationships are healthier.
Mhm.
And they know how to be with their difficult feelings as they arise in a way that where they can nurture themselves instead of run away from themselves.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's been great because I do it with also a lot of my clients, but it like speeds up their therapy so much,
Wow.
because it makes them their own inner source.
Wow. And do you find that this journey is different when we look at men versus women, or, the masculine versus feminine energies? Do you find that there's a difference as people progress through this?
So I think that first of all, women think about marriage when we're like little girls. A girl will be thinking about like, I wonder who I'm gonna marry when I grow up. And a guy will be thinking, what will I be doing or something. So that's why my husband at first was like, I don't think you'll get meant to be involved in this. But actually there's great interest in men for this. They too want to know themselves as the source, and they too feel vulnerable in relationships. But in going through the men's, I've noticed that the ritual part is very, very rich. So I give the men a lot of the guided imageries work and the journaling and the inner preparation that us as women would do together. And the men have wanted to, so they do it as homework and then they come together and there's a very like yang intensity. They get really in each other's faces as they own what's inside of them. And they're very dramatic in even in retrieving themselves, and they get sweaty and passionate. It's been a very different experience, Pedro, than the women who have just yeah, I mean, strength there, absolutely, but a bit less intense with one another, but very supportive and nurturing. But the men are like in each other's faces, like, get this.
Wow, there's some interesting differences that you've noted there, but I can see how that plays out. And wonderful that you are supporting that and holding the space so that everyone can follow what feels right for them, right? So wonderful, wonderful.
I've been so lucky to be in the presence of groups of men like that and be the only woman. I think that they very much they just go into their men's experience, and it is different, right? And I wouldn't really know what that was like unless I had this opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And outside of the marrying yourself journey, do you offer any other programs or services to people? So if someone is looking to connect with you, they can start this online journey now, even if they don't live in Atlanta, and anything else that they can work with you on?
Well, obviously, I am a therapist. I do have two books out. One is on grief. It's about grieving, but it's also about staying in touch with our loved ones who have departed in current sense of relationship versus just memories. And it's called Rearranged, Never the Same. And then also a toolbox book for when your body doesn't feel good, living with illness and disability. And it's a workbook also engaging. It teaches about how to become friends with what's going on in your body. And even though it's geared towards children, my adult clients use it a lot. And so that's another offering. And then on my website, I have about 36 videos, 1 to 3 minute videos on healing energy exercises. So they're there free for the offering of like when your energy is low or when you need it to get more balanced. And these are just little tools that I've learned along the way or I made up that really work, or when your mind is overactive. So that's there. And then also a video called Living with Arthur, which is based on my experience living with arthritis. And it's about a 6 minute video, but it's really asking you, like, what's your Arthur and how are you victorious with transforming? So I would love for people to check that out. And also, I created this flow of invocation and movement that we can do. One is called Commitment Mudra Flow, which is about aligning with ourselves, and it comes from the Marrying Yourself journey. And the other one is about Gaia, is about our planet and Mother Earth and how to invoke that I am you and you are me. And it's a beautiful, like 2-minute movement process that is out there to engage in.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And also for your generosity of putting all of these free resources on your site. What an amazing place to go and check things out. We will be linking to all of Deva Joy's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to go there to check out how you can connect with her and have a look at these wonderful resources that she's mentioning as well. And this has been another incredible episode. And I really hope our listeners have enjoyed this journey into marrying yourself, marrying ourselves as much as I have. It has been fantastic chatting with you on the podcast today, Deva Joy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I love talking with you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And thank you so much and take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please subscribe, share on social media, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find more of The Journey on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and the Journey blog. Sending you love and courage, and see you next week.